Hey guys, Mr. Riz to help you guys out with the 2.3 section here in Algebra 2. We're going to be looking at equations of linear functions. So first thing we're going to do is review looking at slope a little bit. So why don't you pause the video and see if you guys can find the slope of each one of these lines. Okay, so when we're looking at slope, big thing we're looking at is rise over run. So you want to look at points that you can find here. So always start on the left point and work your way to the right. So if I look at these points here, we go up 2 over 1. So it'd be 2 over 1. Or just 2. Now on these points here, we're looking at the slope going from the left to the right. We're going down 3, left 1, so that'd be -3. Now when we have these equations here, what you want to do is get the y by itself. So we would minus the 3x over and then divide by -2. We should get a positive 3 over 2. And over here, we're going to add the 6x over and divide by -3. So that one should be -2. All right, when we're looking at points here, we have to remember the formula. It's going to be y minus y over x minus x. So pause this video, see if you can find the slope with the points. Let's check our work here. All right, first one here, if we do 5 minus -4, that's 9 over 2 minus 3 is -1. 9 divided by -1 is -9. On the top here, we subtract the y's. -1 minus 5 is -6. And then on the bottom, -1 minus 7 is -8. -6 divided by -8 reduces to 3 over 4. Okay, so the goals today here is we're going to make sure we can kind of understand the idea here with solving problems, work abstractively, and kind of model the mathematics. So our goals are to make sure we can write linear equations in standard form, and then also be able to write them in slope-intercept form and be able to find them given information, whether it's a point and a slope, or if we have 2 points. Okay, so standard form is like this, where we have ax plus by equals c. A needs to be a positive number, and a and b and c have to be all integers with a common factor of 1. So they can't be all divisible by any number other than 1. All right, so what we want to do here first is to write this equation in standard form. So let me get my annotate tools out here. All right, what we want to do is first move over the x first. So we're going to minus the 2/5 x over. So we have plus y equals 14. Remember, we wanted to get into the form ax plus by equals c. All right, next thing you might look at this here and go, okay, how do we get rid of this fraction? So what we're going to do for next is to get rid of the denominator. We're going to times everything by 5. All right, and so we get a -2x plus 5y equals 70. Very similar, but the other rule is that a needs to be a positive number. So to make these all positive numbers, you're going to just basically change the sign. Technically, we're going to multiply everything by -1. So the answer should be 2x minus 5y equals -70. All right, once you pause this video and see if you can do this next one on your own. All right. This one, a little tricky here, seeing if you paid attention. So we got to move that over to the other side. So we get a -10x plus 2y equals -16. And then you might think, be like, okay, I got to make that positive. So I'll change this to a 10x plus 2y equals, or not plus 2y, minus 2y equals a positive 16. You might think you're done. Remember, you have to double check that you cannot divide these all by the same number. So since these are all divisible by 2, we need to make sure we divide by 2. Okay, you always have to reduce. So the answer should be 5x minus 1y equals 8. Yep, so A would be 5, B would be -1, and C is 8. Okay, next, we're going to be looking at graphing and lines like so. So all lines can be written in the form of slope-intercept form, where we have y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, which is the rise over run. So in this case, the slope is 2 over 3 because it goes up 2, right 3. B is the y-intercept, and this example here, the y-intercept would be right here at 1. So we could rewrite this equation as y equals 2/3 x plus 1. So what we want to do here is practice, okay, how do we get an equation in y equals mx plus b? And it's basically is like what we've been practicing, getting a variable by itself. Let's get the y by itself. So we're going to minus the 12x over. So we get negative 4y equals negative 12x plus 24. Always get in the habit of putting the x part first. And then we need to divide by the number in front. So we're going to divide everything by negative 4. And we get y equals, okay, negative 12 divided by negative 4 is just 3. And then 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6. So our slope is 3, also known as 3 over 1. And our y-intercept is at negative 6. All right, so pause the video, see if you can try this one on your own. If we got x equals negative 2y plus 22. See if you can go through and get the y by itself and y equals mx plus b. All right, I'm going to move some things around. I'm going to move this 2y over here, move that. So the negative 2y over there becomes a positive 2y. The 4x over on the other side becomes a negative 4x, and that 22 hangs out there. Next step, we would want to divide by 2, so we divide everything by 2, and we get y equals negative 2x plus 11. Okay. Should be good. 2 and 11. All right, so one thing we can do here is take this to story problems. So we have this equation here of, I'm going to write this down because I think it might not go on to the next page here. 3246x minus 2y equals negative 15,722. Okay, can be used to estimate the shoe sales in Europe from 2010 to 2015, where x is the number of years after 2010, and y is the revenue in millions. Write the equation in slope-intercept form. Okay, and then interpret the results. Okay, so if we want to go ahead and write this in slope-intercept form, we need to get the y by itself. So I'm going to take this equation here, we're going to minus the x over. So we get a negative 2y is equal to a negative 3246x minus 15,722. And then we need to divide everything by 2, or negative 2. All right, so we go y equals, all right, that divided by is what, 1623, and then minus 76, 361, maybe. Okay, and so what we got to do is talk about what does that mean. So that means the revenue is equal to this number, 16,323 times a year minus that initial starting value. Yep, there we go. So do we got the same thing? Oh yeah, let me clear out my drawings here so you guys can see. So that 1623 represents the sales increase per year. So 1623 million each year. And that negative represents that year in 0. So the sales were, okay, that much at year 0. Wait, oh, we divided by negative, so it should have been a positive. That's right, I was thinking it was an initial loss. Okay, give this a try on your own here with this story problem. So smartphones in 2013 were 1.31 billion users worldwide. In 2017, there were 2.38 billion smartphones. Write and use an equation to estimate the number of users in 2025. All right, so what we want to do is first to bind the variables. So we can have the users could be y and x would be the years. And so x could be the years after 2013 and y could be the number of billion smartphone users. And we can look at this here and kind of figure out the slope. In 2013, there was 1.31. So we can see that at the point 0, 1.31. And then in 2017, there were more. So that's 4 years later, there were 2.38. And so we can use that to figure in the slope here, plug it into the equation, subtract the y's, subtract the x's, and we get a slope or an increase of 0.27 billion per year. So we know that the starting value is our y-intercept is 1.31. We can plug that into the equation and we get, okay, y equals 0.27x plus 1.31. Now to estimate how many are going to be in 2025, that's 12 years after 2013, we can plug 12 in for x and we should have about 4.55 billion users. All right, so here's what we're going to be working on. Now there is an equation called point slope form. It's good and all, but to be honest, we're going to use y equals mx plus b. It's going to help us more in Algebra 2. Point slope is set up here, but we're going to find, I'm going to show you guys another way. Now, if I ever give you a point and a slope, technically you can use this equation where you plug in the m, plug in the x1 and y1, and just simplify to get the equation. But it's kind of limited. What I'm going to do is have you guys do this instead. So if we need to go through and find the equation y equals mx plus b, there's the two numbers we need to find, m and b. All right, maybe we'll even write it up here. M equals what? B equals what? Now, in this equation here, this story problem, it goes to the point 3, -5, and has a slope of 11. 11 is our M. It's right there. Now, we don't know what our B is, and it's not going to be -5, but we can use these X and Y's to help us solve for B. So I'm going to plug in -5 for Y, 11 for M, 3 for X, and solve for B. So we get -5 equals 33 plus B. I can minus the 33 over. All right, we get -38 equals B. So now that we got that, we can actually write our equation because we have our M and B, and we can say y equals 11x minus 38. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on next, is writing these linear equations. All right, why don't you guys try this one on your own, pause the video, and see if you can do it. All right, let's check our work here. So we got y equals mx plus b. What is m? What is b? M is stated right here, 4.5. We don't know b, so we're going to plug it in. We get -5 is our y, m is 4.5, x is 13, solve for b. All right, got to do a little math here. What's 4.5 times 13? Yeah, but 4 point. Keyboard. Oh, okay. I'm playing. I'll see you later. 0.5 times 13. Probably could have done that in the head. 58.5. All right, we'll subtract that over. That's what, 63.5, -63.5. So that means our equation should be y equals 4.5x minus 63.5. Cool. Hope you did all right. If not, rewatch it. See if you can find your mistake. All right, now next, what if I don't give you the slope? What if I give you 2 points? And it's basically go through the same steps here, but first thing we got to do is find our m by using the slope formula. And then we're going to pick either one of the points. It doesn't matter. I would say pick the one that you think looks easier and plug it into y equals mx plus b. So with this problem here, what we got to do, we got to find our m, we got to find our b. We don't know m, but we knew we can do y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And so we can take the y's, I got 1 and 13, 1 minus 13, and take our x's, 1 and 7, subtract them. All right, so we get a -12 over a -6. That reduces to 2. So that's what m is. Now we're going to do y equals mx plus b. We're going to pick either one of these points to use our x's and y's. I think 1, 1 might be a little bit easier here. So 1 is y. M we just figured out is 2. and x is 1. We're going to solve for b. So 1 equals 2 plus b. If we take away the 2, negative 1 would be b. So that means our equation, our final answer would be y equals 2x minus 1. All right, next one, try this one on your own and see. Oh, wait, let's not even worry about this A, B, C, D. Let's see if you guys can write this in the right slope intercept form. Okay, let's check the work. So to get the m, we're going to subtract the y's. All right, so we got 13 minus 1 over negative 2 minus negative 1. Now, keep in mind, it technically doesn't matter. If I go like 1 minus 13, I just got to do negative 1 minus 12. It doesn't matter what order you go in, as long as you stick it in the same direction. So 13 minus 1 is 12. Negative 2 minus negative 1 is negative 1. So we get negative 12 is our slope. All right, then we're going to pick one of the points. That still might be a little bit easier. All right, y is 1. M is now negative 12. X is negative 1. We're going to solve for b. And we get, let's see, 1 equals positive 12 plus b. If we subtract the 12, we get negative 11. So we should get y equals negative 12x minus 11. Now, which one of these works? Point slope is y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we can go through and say like, okay, y minus 1 is equal to negative 12 times x minus negative 1 or plus 1. So it should be a. Now, I think there probably is another answer here. And this is why I don't like using point slope, because you could have used that as well to get the exact same equation. Yeah, B and H. We would have plugged in the other point, get the same. So why I like slope intercept form is because there's really just one answer. All right, we got a story problem here. Go ahead, pause this and read it. All right, so if we're going to find the slope, what we want to do is use our years. So we can use the how much they're leading, 5.4 minus 1.4 over, and then these are the years after 1178, 1815 years minus 712. So we get 0.006 per year. We can plug that in using either one of our points to get our equation. Okay. Go ahead, pause this video, see if you guys can try to get this next one. Okay. Alrighty. I know that was a quick review, but let's make sure we understand how to do this. And if you guys have any questions, make sure you guys ask. Thanks for watching, guys. You guys have a great day and be safe out there.